Hello, welcome. Ryan here for the London Craftsman again, and thank you for coming back. Today's video is all about spraying, and in particular spraying over MDF panels, two types. We've got standard MDF and we've got green MDF. We're going to be doing a little experiment to do with our space heater and also the type of MDF. We're going to be just seeing how quickly it dries and the difference between drying with the space heater fast or letting it dry naturally, and also doing the two types, the standard MDF to the green MR MDF. So well worth a watch. Stay tuned, watch to the end, and I hope you enjoy. What we have here is two pieces of standard MDF. We have got the edges lipped with paintable edging tape. This MDF is good quality MDF from our cutting suppliers. This is Medite as well, but this is Medite MR MDF. This is green and this is 12 mm in thickness, doesn't really make much difference. So what we're going to be doing is spraying quite heavily with our airless sprayer, the silk paint that you can see behind me. But it's water-based, so it's going to dry naturally. One other thing that I want to mention is my technique is using this as an undercoat. If you've watched my videos in the past, you've seen the finishes that I achieve by just doing top coats consistently all the way through, no undercoats. I find that spraying a silk or an eggshell as the first coat is absolutely bulletproof. You can't scratch it, it's so tough. It sands back really well like glass. And to me, there is no downsides to it. It fills the gaps, fills any little nooks and crannies that it needs to fill, just like an undercoat. So I wanted to add that first before anyone leaves comments saying that you're spraying it all wrong. Yes, I know this is my technique. I'm not forcing you to do this technique. I've been doing it for a good 5 years. I must have sprayed 150 wardrobes and alcove units this way with not a single complaint. Very happy with the finishes that I achieve. So yeah, we're going to be doing contract silk all the way through, 3 coats. So let's get cracking. Let's get spraying. I've got my filters in, my fans on, door open. And it's pretty heavy there. Quite heavy. Completely covered the MDF. And there's quite a bit of texture on that paint at the moment. Let's put that in the rack. I hit the front edge at the same time. Let's get a bit of green. Remember, these have all been sanded up, P240. Edges, arises have been taken off with the round over cutter. Quite hard when you're covering a dark colour, one coat. There we go, but it does it. And with no pooling, just got to do it fast. Tip is, with an airless sprayer, do it fast. So look, we're at 3 minutes and 19. I'm going to space them out, okay? So we get equal air in between. As you can see on my rack. 3:19 p.m. It's at 2 minutes and we're at 16 degrees. So let's just time to see how long that takes to air dry, and we'll come back once it is. I think we're nearly there. Touch dry. Could do it a little bit longer. So I'm going to say those two are done within an hour for the bigger one and an hour and 10 minutes for the smaller one. So I'm going to put these to the side now and spray the other two, but have the heater on. Okay, just plugged in the heater and you'll hear it go off in a minute. There we go. And what I'm doing is pointing that sort of in that direction because the air's getting pulled through the fans here, so it's going to go around and be sucked through evenly. So it goes through the rack. So you've got a circulation going. And we're going for part 2 of the experiment. Where we're spraying exactly the same amount of paint, as far as I can tell, but having the heater on and still the fans on at the same time. Yeah, let's put that in exactly the same place. I think it was there. And let's spray this one. So it looks like I'm in fast forward because it's what you've got to do with an airless sprayer. Got to move fast. Very good coverage. Again, let's shove that in there. The heater is facing that direction. Air supply going with the fans. Yeah, I think that's all we can do is wait. Be back in the boat in a moment. Okay, as you can see, it's only been a minute or so. But you can see the temperature raising. We're on 14 degrees here. And it's getting a nice air supply. So to dry paint as quickly as possible, you need an airflow, don't you? You need air circulating and you need heat. I generally do two different things. I either go 3 coats, so the first coat has to be heavy to cover completely. Then you sand it back and then you just do 2 sort of low to medium coats, probably medium coats. Or I just go easy on the first, second, third and fourth, so sort of lowish to medium coats on all of them. All right, coming in, 35 minutes into it, and we're nearly there. What I'm gonna do is turn the heater off and assume another 5 minutes because I think we're nearly there. I'm gonna say 40 minutes on these 2, the ones that have been baked. So what I'm gonna do is come back in the morning, show you these 2 in the lights before I sand them up because I want to show you what the heat does on the first coat, the way the grain raises. So these 2 that we're going to show you first, this is standard MDF, right? Remember we put this on heavy and this is the finish that we've got. Well, see, when it's drying you think, bloody hell, there's so much paint on here. But you know, I'm really impressed with the way this has turned out. It really is really good for 1 coat and drying within an hour and 20 minutes, this one. Go put that down. Let's go for the green. So this is why I never really, people always ask me, let's go for the green. Why don't you always use green? And my thing is, green never really does it for me. This one you can see, this is 12mm, and 12, I find different densities, like different thicknesses have different densities, and this one I don't find is as good. The grain has raised a little bit more. But remember, the true result is on the 3rd, 4th coat. Okay, let's put that down. So these 2 were just air dried. Let's see if we've got any improvements on the pieces that were dried with a heater, dried within half an hour. Okay, don't know if you can see any flecks. Can anyone see any flecks? Still pretty good, isn't it? Good coverage, no brown showing through. There's a couple of dents there which we need to refill because they've only just popped up. Paint's highlighted them, but other than that, again, it's really good. I mean, I'd say there is no difference. You know, the camera doesn't show everything. Let's go for the other one with the green. So far, this test is showing us that there isn't too much difference between. See, this one, this is the one where you can tell the difference, can't you? The 12mm. It soaks up a little bit more. It's as if the board's not as dense as the 18 and it's sort of soaking it up more. I find the 12mm and the 6mm, because I've done tests before, do give you different results. The 18 is always a little bit more dense and so is the 25. So my thoughts at the moment is the thickness makes the difference, not the brand. Remember, this is green. All right, Sean, that's it. We say that at the moment, before we show you the final results of all the pieces coated up with 3 coats each, I don't think there is much difference. Remember, these are going to get sanded back with P240 now, which is going to get rid of the flecks. But remember, when you get rid of the flecks and you sand them back, you're just sort of bringing back that raw MDF again. So we've got to be careful with that. And these 2 are the ones that we did with all 3 coats with the heater on, and these 2 are the ones that we did just air dried. They did take a lot longer, but it's the lightest it is going to be outside, and I need to just get this done for you guys, otherwise I'm going to be stringing it along. So the 12mm air dried, the 12mm and the 6mm I find doesn't give you as good a finish. I'm trying to give you the best possible view. And you go in the centre there. I think that's the best it's going to be. But there is literally no flex. There's a very slight texture, but this is what the airless gives you. It gives you a very flawless finish, but you can't see any actual flex at all, you know, where those big bits of the MDF raise, the horrible bits. Happy with that. All right, let's put that down. Let's go for the bigger piece. So remember, that's MR, but 12mm. This is standard. Let's see if it's any different because it's standard MDF. And as far as I can tell, no flex again. Nothing at all. Really hard to get a good view of this. Overall, it's really good. Can't complain with that. So, you know, if we're doing well on the MR, MDF and the standard air dried, we should be even better on the heated version. So let's go and have a look at these. Let's go with the 12 again. So these are with the space heater. There's no real art to sort of getting you to see it, but yeah, I think with a bit more daylight, it would have been a little bit better. Again, no flex raising. I can't see any difference between any of them so far. And let's go with the MDF, standard MDF, dried with the heater. So remember, every single coat on this was dried with the heater quicker than the standard air dried. So maybe I just need a better room to sort of view it in, but yeah, there we go. Our conclusion is that we find that there's not a lot of difference between the two, is there? No. A lot of people do use MR MDF because they think that it's going to give you a much better finish. Might be with the roller and the brush, yeah. But because we spray quite a bit, spraying does give you a different finish altogether, and because you're spraying and you're getting the texture on, it sort of hides any little imperfections. You get very, very good finish overall. I'm really, really chuffed with all the finishes. If you are doing 6mm, maybe just coats in between, sand back in between coats. We find that 6mm does raise the most, doesn't it, Sean?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
No matter what we do, we find that it just raises for some reason. It's not as dense. The material isn't as dense. When you buy a sheet of 6mm, it's not like a piece of 18 or 25 where it's rock solid. As soon as you spray it, it goes twice as fluffy as a piece of 18 or a piece of 25 or 9 or whatever. So that is my one thing to take note of, is sand back in between coats a little bit more on the 6mm, possibly the 9. But with these, we only sanded back once after the first coats, and then just did second and third coats. So hardly any difference between the heated version and the air dried version, even though when we did put our first coat on heavy and we let that dry over an hour and a half, you did see all these flecks, didn't you? You did see them. But one more tip is, don't go heavy with a P240. We use the slightly worn out disc, don't we, Sean? Yeah, it's smoother and it doesn't rough up the surface, because if you imagine, even though P240 is quite smooth, it's still rough enough to rough that surface up. But we start with a used 240 because we can use it for other jobs, can't we? Sand up the MDF, and then do 3 or 4 pieces of these, swap it over. So that's tip of the day. Use a worn out 240 disc. If you can, I would still say use the heater, especially if you're 6mm, even though the experiment's proving that they're both near enough the same. If you're going for lower quality, sort of Wicks MDF, I find that that can sometimes raise a little bit more on you as well. So having the heater is going to get you over those problems. So there's your answers. If you want to know anything else, fire us a question. Sean will answer it. He's the man with the knowledge. But other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thumbs up, like and subscribe. Share it with your friends if you found it useful, and have a great rest of the day. Take it easy. Ciao for now.